Hi friends, welcome to the start of this vlog. It's going to be themed for Jane Austen July, and so I'm going to be trying to read as much as I can of Pride and Prejudice over the weekend because I'm not even halfway through and there's less than a week left in the month. So I'm not going to pressure myself to finish it over the weekend because I'm not sure that I could do that, but as much as possible is my goal. And yeah, and then later I'm going to be doing some baking, but for now, some reading. So I've been reading for a little bit, but I'm gonna take a break so that I can do some baking, and then I'll keep reading later in the day. But the point where I stopped is during Elizabeth's visit to see Charlotte and Mr. Collins, and it's been quite a bit more than 10 years since I read Pride and Prejudice for the first time. I'm actually not sure if I've reread it. I thought I did, but I kind of question that. I'm not sure. But I also really love the 2005 movie adaptation. I really love. There are differences between that and the book. I personally think that the things that they decided to change are a really great example of changes for a feature film that make for a really good feature film. But you know, if you like the very faithful representation, then the BBC miniseries is probably more to your liking. but I think that over time, my interpretation of the characters has been influenced by interpretations of the movie. And so on a reread, I am catching differences and nuances that the book has that the movie doesn't, or does a little bit differently. And that's really cool to see. One thing that I definitely didn't pick up on the first time I read the book is how much Elizabeth and Charlotte's relationship changed after Charlotte decided to marry Mr. Collins. And it's really interesting because I do think that, you know, now that I'm an adult, I definitely have more of a sense of how much relationships can change, especially going from childhood into adulthood, and you know, a person's choices and you know, differences in ideology can really affect relationships like that. So yeah, it's interesting to get a new perspective on things like that. But yes, and then another thing, where did I put it? What? I forgot to bring this over, but I wanted to show you guys. I got my copy of The Trouble with Mrs. Montgomery Hurst. How beautiful is the cover? I love the gold foil with the blue and the white. So classy and pretty. Nice and chunky. So I'm definitely going to be getting to this soon. I don't know, maybe I'll start it for the vlog. We'll see. But for now, I'm gonna do some baking, and for the baking, I plan to make some British scones. You know, the typical ones that you see nowadays, not necessarily what Jane Austen would have had in her day, but we're going with inspiration here. And then I'm also going to be making just a sandwich loaf because that's what Bruce and I eat every day for breakfast. We always have some toast with our breakfast, and we ran out and I have to make some anyway, so I'm gonna include that. So yeah, let's get going. guys, it's the next day. It's Friday today. I hope you enjoyed watching me make the bread and the scones yesterday. I actually realized this morning that I forgot to add sugar to the scones. I tried one plain yesterday and I was like, wow, these are really plain. But I guess it's because you're supposed to add clotted cream and jam and whatever. But no, they're definitely supposed to be sweeter than they were, but that's okay. They're actually not bad at all if you put some butter or jam on top of them. Yeah, but I got the recipe from the official Great British Bake Off website, and so I will link to it below if you're interested. But yeah, so today I actually wanted to do a little update for Gentleman of Uncertain Fortune by Rory Muir, because that's the audiobook that I'm listening to right now. And I think I'm like 3/4 of the way through and I'm really enjoying it. I really like Rory Muir's style. I think that he has a really good balance between being informative but also entertaining. I think that having real examples is really effective because he uses firsthand accounts through letters and diaries or memoirs. And yeah, I really like that. You know, it adds the human element that makes it a lot more entertaining than just straight up information. He also mentions Jane Austen's brothers. I think it's Henry, Francis, and Charles. And it's really cute because he always includes Jane's reaction to anything significant that happened in their lives. And I just think that's it's really cute. So yeah, I think I only have 2 hours left of the audiobook, so I will definitely be able to finish that within the month. Yeah, so for today, I will definitely be doing some more reading, but I also would love to follow my own advice and read from my fashion book. That was one of my recommendations for Jane Austen July. So I'm going to read the section on Regency fashion and show you a little bit of it. And then later, I have an idea for a project that I will tell you more about in a little bit. So this is my project. It's an art project and it's inspired by this cover of Pride and Prejudice because it has Fanny Knight on the cover. It's a painting by Cassandra and Fanny is doing a watercolor painting and Cassandra made it with watercolor paints. And so I felt very inspired to also do some painting with my watercolors. It's been a long time since I've used them, and I thought it'd be really cool to make it with the scones that I was making for Jane Austen July. I'm very much inspired by Jane Austen July, and I'll have that painting to remember this year's Jane Austen July by. Yeah, so these are my sketches. These are going to be for making studies and playing around with my paints before I go into the final painting. So these are not going to be the final thing, but I'm very excited to work on them. I will try filming the process. I don't know if I'll be able to, but if I can, I definitely will. And if not, I will show you how it turns out anyway. And if I also have enough time to finish the final thing, I'll include that at the end of the video as well. But yes, so for now, I'm gonna get back to some reading. I am trying to continue reading, but someone will not let me. Hi guys, it is now Sunday. Sorry there was no check-in yesterday. I slept in and woke up with a big craving for some cream scones, and so that's what you saw me making. They were vanilla scones with a maple glaze and then some chopped pecans on top. And then later in the day I worked on my art project, and it was a bit tricky trying to get the shot right, but I think it came out nice. The only thing is the sun kept moving, and eventually I got some very distracting shadows, and so I had to pause and then keep going later in the day. And then it got pretty late and I didn't end up filming a check-in. But I am here now and I'm gonna show you my progress in Pride and Prejudice. I am more than halfway through now and I'm pretty happy with that. I made a nice little dent. I'm really enjoying my annotated edition. I feel like with something like Pride and Prejudice, for the most part, it's just adding a little bit of extra nuance. Sometimes it comments on things that are happening, or sometimes it just gives you a better understanding of the way that vocabulary was used at the time, because sometimes it's a little bit different than how we use it nowadays. But I feel like annotations, interestingly, can make a greater impact in some books rather than others. So for example, for Mansfield Park, I felt like contextualizing a lot of what is in there really made a big impact in my rereading of it, more than in something like Pride and Prejudice. I think because it's addressing some things that just, benefit from more context. And it's interesting because too, in Pride and Prejudice, I was recently reading the section where Elizabeth is reading Mr. Darcy's letter, where he's talking about Wickham and how he decided not to go into the clergy, was considering going into the law, specifically for becoming a barrister, not an attorney, and then leaving that aside as well, because it's a lot of work and it's a very insecure path, and going into the militia instead. And I feel like from reading the nonfiction that I've been reading, Gentlemen of Uncertain Fortune, hello, are you helping? I have so much context and I feel like it's so enriching. I will say the annotations do add a little bit of that context for the careers in here, but it's even more obviously from reading those nonfiction books. And so that's why I love the pairing of those along with reading something like Jane Austen that's set in the past. But yeah, I'm loving that. So I will be reading more of this later today. But before I close out the vlog, I thought it might be cool to read a little bit of The Trouble with Mrs. Montgomery Hurst. Just start maybe the first couple chapters and give you my first impressions. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. So I just finished the first chapter of The Trouble with Mrs. Montgomery Hurst by Kitty Lumsden, and it is so good. I am so excited to keep reading this. We start out with the point of view of the Ashpoint family as they are trying to get ready for a ball. And our first protagonist is Amelia, a 23-year-old young woman who seems to be interested, and her father seems to also be very interested, in her potentially marrying Mr. Hurst, who is a 31-year-old eligible bachelor in their town. And she meets him at this ball and quickly learns that he is actually going to London to be married very soon. And that's what this book is about. It's actually about the whole town reacting to his marriage to a woman that they do not know, who is a widow with 3 children. And I am very excited. The way that it opens is this really fun, chaotic family scene where things are being thrown around and there's a lot of dialogue, and we're getting to know all of the characters as they are having conversations and reacting to each other and stuff. And I love when that's done really well, and it's done so well. It immediately throws you into this family and this setting. And I think this is also going to have a lot of class commentary, with different families being in different rungs of society. And I think we will also get to see from servants and different points of view
So yes, I'm so excited. And I imagine that most people will already know, but the author, Katie Lumsden, is also a booktuber, and so I will link to her channel if for some reason you don't know about her. She's one of the co-hosts for Jane Austen July, and she's amazing. I am loving this, and I'm so excited to continue to read more of it. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up the vlog. I did think of another activity that I would actually love to make time for. And it is, if you play The Sims, you could download a bunch of Regency appropriate custom content and make a bunch of Jane Austen characters and houses for them and stuff. I would love to sink way too much time into that. Maybe I'll go ahead and do that. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed seeing all the activities I did on my reading, baking, and painting. I am going to aim to have the final painting done by the time I do my July/Jane Austen July wrap up so that I can show you guys how it turns out. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you are also having a great reading month, and I will see you next time. Bye!